I'm Susan. Welcome to Tea and Games. The tea today is, what is it? Breakfast.
Morning Mojo.
Morning Mojo from Tea Runners. And as you heard, I've got a disembodied voice here with me now. Yes. Robert is joining us for Tabletop Tag. I say us, it's only me, unless the dog comes running in barking, which is a very real possibility, so I'm just going to apologize ahead of time. So yes, we've got our morning mojo. It is summer solstice, a Saturday, and I don't usually record on weekends. I've got the top on top of the game topper, the dining top on top of the game topper, because we have got above and below laid out on the table, and I just needed to put a couple of the topper planks in here for the camera, and so I would have some place to put my stuff that wasn't on the game or mat. So that's why the top looks different. It's not our dining room table or the game top. Well, it is the game topper, but it's hidden. So Spielmill, that's Jen and Jane. Hi Jen, hi Jane. If you have not watched their channel, you should definitely go over there and watch. I will put a link to their tabletop tag video in the description for this video below. They tagged me and specifically tagged Robert, who does not appear in these videos, not even as a disembodied voice. So they specifically said they wanted Robert's answers, and Robert, to my surprise, agreed to not appear off camera, be a disembodied voice off camera for the tabletop tag. Everybody seems to have thought that I have already done a tabletop tag, and I actually thought I had done a tabletop tag because I kind of remember my answers, but I think what it was is this was a thread in some Discord forum a couple of years ago, and I did that, but I've never done a video tabletop tag. And as I mentioned to somebody, my answers for some of these from a couple of years ago are going to be different than they are now. So this is worth doing again, even if you could find the old thread. But yeah, we will start off with the first question: name, age, and location. I'm Susan. I am old-ish, and I am looking forward to continuing to grow older as it beats the alternative. I live in the greater Houston area. Houston is, I think, the fourth largest city in the U.S., and I don't know if its population numbers include suburbs and exurbs and the general metropolitan influence, but we are within Houston's metropolitan influence. Let's put it that way. Okay, Robert, name, age, and location.
Okay, my name is Robert. I am ancient, actually 67, and my location is with Susan.
Oh, yes. He is very often wherever I am. My own personal stalker. No, just kidding. We've been married
She's not.
We've been married for a very, very long time, 45 years. So, yes, you add his age and the 45 years, you can get in that range for my old-ish.
We've known each other since 1977.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's right.
That was our first date.
Yeah, that's right. Our first date in 77. Okay, so yeah, and we were not board gamers then. But let's see, going back in time, the second question is favorite childhood board game. This was really strangely tough for me. I played board games when I was a kid. I played a lot of board games when I was a kid, but it's hard to think of one that would be a favorite. I probably played Monopoly more than anything else simply because at that point in time, everybody had Monopoly and everybody knew more or less how to play. Literally every household, friends, family, there was nobody that you knew that did not have a copy of Monopoly. And so when somebody said, do you want to play a game? 9 times out of 10, that was the game that was brought out because everyone had it, everyone more or less knew it. Let's not get into that whole weird Monopoly rules thing here. But I can't say that it was my favorite. I found Monopoly really frustrating and traumatic and just annoying. Um, and I played a large assortment of card games, but nothing really particularly stood out except for one summer we had or I think it was a summer or maybe it wasn't over summer, but there was one time where we had an unending game of war, also sometimes called Battle. I think we called it Battle. That was using 2 decks of playing cards, and it just went on forever. I think eventually we just bailed out of it after 3 or 4 months. So yeah, I did actually have some card games that at least in time period could be considered epic when I was growing up. But in terms of board games, a lot of times we would play games. We would just basically, somebody I knew would get a new game or I would get a new game, and we would binge the game until we got burned out on it or outgrew it. And then we would go on to another game, so that games kind of went through phases where they were hot or not. The one thing I recall that I liked, it's a game I owned, and it's one of the things that stands out to me, and I still have it, it's in the garage, is a game called Masterpiece. And I don't actually remember how the game played, but it's stuck in my mind all these years. And when I left home, I took it with me, so that's kind of significant. It had cards that had art on them, like classic Masterpiece art, and you played as characters. I think they had character cards, and which had like all of these unique, quirky characters with descriptions of them, and that really stuck in my mind. The whole artwork and the characters for the cards, that just was really, really appealing. And a lot of times I just take the game out and lay it all out and just kind of mess around with it just for the immersion in that world with those characters and all of those works of art. That one, it sticks in my mind, although what sticks in my mind is not the game itself. It is, I guess you would say, the components and the look of it and the character art. So I guess that might be my favorite board game as a child, or maybe not quite child, but mid-teen, tween or mid-teen something. How about you, Robert? Favorite childhood board game? I should know this.
Well,
I mean, I didn't know you as a kid.
There were,
but
you know, I went to the two different directions for the answer, because I played, if I had to say a board game, an actual laying out board game, it would have to be probably Monopoly or something like that, or maybe some of those short-lived games based on TV shows, of which I had one or two, but I can't remember what they are now. If I had to actually name my favorite game from childhood, it would be the card game Millborn.
Oh, yes. Millborns. I've actually mentioned this on some previous videos. We still play Millborns. Millborns, Robert has said, is basically the only card game he played growing up.
Well, except for stuff like Crazy Eights, and things like that.
Everybody plays
those
Crazy Eights.
Little Whitman card games you get for 99 cents at a 7-Eleven.
Yeah. We still play Millborns. It is very, very luck driven. And you can still get it. It's still in print. I mean, it's just kind of around. It's like a little cheap card game. You might be able to find it like at Barnes & Noble or just some...
That's, I think, where we got it.
Yeah. Oh, no, I think we got it at our local game store because they have it too.
Yeah, anyway, it's around. It's not hard to find.
But it is very luck driven. And Millborns is one of those games that we pull out where we can play this game even if we're feeling bad, because the game is so based on luck. Once you know how to play it and that you've got these cards and this card will mitigate that card and that card will mitigate that card, once you know that, you can play that game without thinking at all, because it is totally luck. It is literally the luck of the draw. So, if you really hate luck in games, you're not going to like that. But it is a good game to just pull out sometimes when you just want to kill time, or you've got a headache, or you just can't think, or whatever. and you just want to sit there and lay cards down, because that's basically what you're doing. There is a little bit of strategy in that you have to decide when you draw it's a draw discard mechanic. You have to decide whether you're going to play a card down or not, and when to play certain cards, but it is very much luck. But you mentioned Monopoly. Did you really like Monopoly, though, or was it like me, the game everybody played?
As a kid, I liked it. I didn't have any of the baggage. And also, I don't know what, for whatever reason, growing up, never had any, game plays of Monopoly where people got mad or, it didn't cause
marathon
rifts
ugly.
like, it never got ugly like it would appear Monopoly does now today with people.
Actually, there was one game of Monopoly I distinctly remember from my childhood that got very ugly. You lucked out on that. You really did.
I didn't play it that often, so that may be another factor.
That's pretty good. Were you good at it? Did you win?
No.
No. Yeah, me neither. I was not a Monopoly tycoon. Let me see. Number 3. Okay, this answer is probably going to be the same for both of us. When did you really get into the board game hobby? And I'd say 2020. Lockdown, plague years, lots of death and stress. A few years prior to that, our extended family, in-laws, Robert's brother and sister-in-law, niece and nephew, they taught us Catan, however you say it. We really liked that, and I wanted to play it more, but we only managed to play it once or twice a year with them, though I liked it quite a lot. And we got the, actually I think we both got the 5 to 6 player extension so that we could all play, because there would be 6 of us, unless Pam set out. So yeah, there would be 5 or 6 of us. But yeah, we only managed to play it once or twice a year, and then lockdown happened. And at that point, we just kind of decided we need our own games. We need to start. We really enjoy playing board games, and it looks like that whole getting together with the family to play board games thing is not going to be happening for a while. So we started picking up games and playing them, just Robert and I. We did that a little bit right after we got married. That we had a couple of board games that we played a little bit in the first couple of years we were married, and then it's just like overtaken by other things. So, but what would you say that when you really got into the board game hobby?
Well, as much as I am into the board game hobby, it was sometime after you did, so I was sort of tracking, with you. I'm much more, when it comes to board games, I'm much more of a doodler and a dilettante. I play them, I enjoy them, but I'm not into it as much as probably you or anyone watching this video. But I enjoy them.
And yet, you said you're saying like that you weren't, but I distinctly remember you walking in the door with the box that said Carcassonne on it. After I had played it on Steam.
Well, we'll get there. We haven't got to that answer yet.
Oh, okay. Let's see. I think that would be the next question, perhaps.
No, the next question is...
First game you purchased, and do you still own that game? Oh, yes, first game purchased. That would go back further than 2020. First game purchased, and do you still own that game? I'm not sure I can even answer this. I have no idea. Not at all. Probably the first game I purchased would have been a deck of cards, like in my teenage years, because I was always the kid that had a pack of cards in my purse. Because card games are, a playing card game is sort of universal. If you've got a deck of cards on you, then no matter where you go, who you are talking to, I would say it would be a good travel game, because even if you're in a foreign country, people know playing card games. And we don't all know the same playing card games. So having a deck of cards with me when I was growing up meant that if I was by myself, I could play solitaire. If I was with another person, I could play battle or war. If I was with 2 or 3 other people, then there were other playing card games that you could play that were group games. And sometimes people knew different games than I knew, so I learned new games, and sometimes they knew slightly different rules, which was also fun and interesting. So yeah, that was kind of fun, and that would probably be the first game I got in terms of game material. But in terms of game I bought, I think I would really, I don't know, I'm thinking when I was growing up, my parents got the games that I wanted. It's like they were under the Christmas tree or something. I distinctly remember getting a game of Operation for Christmas. But I did say, after we learned how to play Catan, I did say we need our own copy of it. So even though it cannot be played with 2 players, we were still thinking that we would be playing with people, groups of people. So because the plague was still a couple of years in the future. So we got Catan after we learned how to play it, and we got the 5 to 6 player extension for it so we could play with whatever size group. So maybe that in terms of first game you purchased, was it Milliborn's?
No, I took the question in a different direction you did. I took question 4 as a codicil to question 3. So instead of trying to think of what I bought, growing up as a kid, I'm thinking of it in terms of getting into modern board games today. So my answer for that would be the first game when we got into board gaming in 2020. The first game I bought was Dastardly Dirigibles from Barnes & Noble, of which that's my second shout out to them, so I expect compensation. It's not a great game, but I like it, especially for the art and for the concept. Dirigibles, steampunk, yada yada yada. So, and I still own it.
Yes, I've tried to cull it a couple of times because I don't feel like it's a very good game, but I do like the artwork. And Robert has snatched it from my hands and squirreled it away somewhere where I can't get to it.
In the cave where I have my 1.5 million books, I have in one of the calyxes, I have one little shelf devoted to my games, the games that either Susan doesn't want or they're strictly defined as my games. There are about 6 of them, and it's in there.
Although I should say the games that are on the calyx in the living room and the game shelves, some of those do include games that Robert picked out that were his choices. Mostly he tends to squirrel away the games that are his games that I'm not crazy about.
Or have certain sentimental value in the case of, well, I do think, if you want to, if you do want to do history and go board gaming, then briefly in the 70s, the whole Avalon Hill stuff like that, those type of war games. I did pick up Star Force, the Alpha Centauri campaign, the first science fiction game that the Avalon Hill gaming company did, and it's on the shelf in there.
Yeah, I've never played that.
I've only played it once. It is a very complex game in the way that those little games with the little, almost microscopic cardboard, pieces work on the big board where you have to actually do math to have things move around. It's a pretty complex game.
Yeah, I hadn't even thought about that. But talking about Dastardly Dirigibles, and I mentioned him walking in with Carcassonne before we went into lockdown when it was looking like the plague is going to get bad. This could get dire. And lockdown was on the horizon because other countries were locking down. He got 3 games before we went into, more or less housebound isolation. Carcassonne and Dastardly Dirigibles and Kaiju Crush, which we have recently gotten rid of. And Dastardly Dirigibles and Kaiju Crush were just small games he saw at Barnes & Noble, and he grabbed them on the way out. But Carcassonne he had seen me play on Steam. It seems like that there was another game besides that, but I am going totally blank on that. And I've had time, since the time they tagged me, to think about these questions. We both have. So it's like, if anything's if anything that we've forgotten, we're just going to put it down to that whole oldish thing. Let's see. That was question number 4, first game you purchased. Question number 5. Any hobbies other than board games? Reading. We are both bookworms. Gardening. He is my slave labor sometimes for gardening. Knitting. Robert got me a massively difficult Lego for Christmas a few years ago, and I had never done any Lego at all. It was just something I had admired in the window of the store. So I started getting small Lego things and worked my way up to it, and now I am well and truly down the Lego rabbit hole. I've got a whole Lego tableau that I change out seasonally. It's like...
I know people at NASA who have a much bigger Lego habit than you do. I mean, they're the ones who get the Saturn V's and things like that. The Millennium Falcons, yada yada.
Yeah, that's a thing. Okay, I also enjoy walking in the woods and logging stuff on my iNaturalist app. Nature in general, it could be considered a hobby of mine. Nature observations, reading, gardening, knitting, Lego, nature. What about you? Hobbies other than board games? And this is another one I know the answer to.
Of course, number 1 is reading. I mean, like I said, we probably have more books in this house than Barnes and Noble. The cave has shelves upon shelves upon shelves. Susan has to, in certain places in the cave, which is in our 3-bedroom house, the cave is the only space that's only mine. Everything else is hers. But there are places in the cave where she has to actually turn sideways to get from point A to point B because of the bookshelves. Other hobbies, movies. Used to go to movies a lot, not so much since the lockdown and stuff, but we do have an impressive Blu-ray and DVD collection. Like Susan said, hiking out in nature. We're to the point where between age, needs, and temperatures, basically most of our little walks have to be short. There's no more 5-mile, 10-mile hikes in our future.
Yeah,
not unless things get a lot cooler.
It's getting hotter. It just seems like winter is, it's like I hate the cold, but it's basically the only time that that the temperatures here aren't bordering on apocalyptic. We have like 2 weeks of spring, a couple of weeks of fall, and then it's like a little bit of like maybe a month worth of cold weather somewhere in the December to January range, and then it's hot the rest of the year.
Today, which is the first day of summer, I believe, the temperature is supposed to be 94 with a heat index of 101. So we're not doing a whole lot.
Welcome to Texas.
If we're doing yard work, we do it usually very early in the morning. Like I did Thursday and Friday, I did a lot of yard work early in the morning. So, by now, we're not going out except to get in the car to go places.
I don't just hang out in my garden. I go out there, I do the gardening thing, and then I come inside and pant.
For me, most of the time, if I'm outside, it's because I'm outside supervising the dogs. The dogs are 95% indoor dogs. They just basically go out in the backyard to chase things and to do their thing, do their business. But otherwise, they're content with lying on couches and beds. We
do have a patio with a large table, which I would like to play games on that, but it's like we can only sit at the patio table and just hang out and relax and enjoy ourselves if we also pull a fan out there with us and have it blowing. Because we have had parties in the backyard, and the fan is adequate for like hanging out at the picnic table, but we do have to set out a fan or it's just unbearable.
Plus, the other thing is we have to set extra places for the mosquitoes.
Oh yes, that's true. They dine well when we're outside. But yeah, I would like to do a video on games that you can play outside on like a picnic table or patio table. That is on my list of videos to make. But we rarely actually do that because scorching temperatures. Okay, let me see. Question number 6, your breakthrough game. Catan. I mentioned this before. Essentially, we played games as kids, then we didn't play games, and then the family introduced us to Catan. And that was the game that started us into the modern board game hobby. Same for you?
My breakthrough game, and also my favorite game, and probably will be my favorite game,
yeah.
is Carcassonne. Carcassonne,
Yeah.
I'm addicted to Carcassonne. I can play it anytime. I mean, if Susan says, if we're both tired, we don't want to play anything, but Susan says, let's play Carcassonne, I'm saying, sure, right.
Yeah, that's another game. But part of it is we could play this game no matter how bad we feel or what else is going on, because we have played it so very many times. We could probably play it in our sleep and still score excellently.
I have.
Yeah. But yeah, that probably, Carcassonne is becoming a lifestyle game. We've got all of the expansions that are in print and quite a few of the mini expansions. Let me see. A theme that always draws you in is question number 7. We have, just going by our shelves, we have a lot of space and sci-fi themed games. And nature-themed games are also big draws. But I noticed when I was thinking a little bit more deeply about the question, we also really like games that that have some sort of story element to us, or that draw us into some kind of a fictional world. Would you get me another mug of tea, hon?
Okay.
If there's any left in the pot.
There will be. Morning
Mojo is really doing it for us. But yeah, we like space and sci-fi themed games, and we like nature themed games, but there are some games that just kind of generally take place in a fantasy world. They may be maybe not so much high fantasy as just anthropomorphic animals, or some kind of setting that is basically a fictional setting. We love Ryan Lockett's Arzium games. And we've got one on the table right now. Just beyond this thing here is Above and Below. So what about you, hon? Themes that draw you in, because we are themers. We definitely, one of the big draws for us on games is themes. So this question is kind of huge for us.
Well, it's a bit general for me, so it was actually difficult for me to answer. I would have to say, like you say, science fiction, though, not, but again, in no cases, none of these were, or at least for me, am I overboard. Like, we don't have, we don't go and grab every science fiction game that comes out.
Yeah.
Love Ryan Lockett. Like a lot of Uwe Rosenberg games. I guess another thing for me would be, for lack of a better term, this is the best term I could come up with, is light supernatural. Nothing, nothing Arkham level. Maybe one day we might try an Arkham game. I like reading Arkham horror, Lovecraft and stuff like that, but playing Arkham games, horror games that level, not quite. We haven't been there yet. Basically, when I say light supernatural, I'm talking about stuff on the level of Scooby-Doo, Horrified, Gloom. We love Gloom. We've got all the different variations of Gloom.
Gloom is a very dark humor card game.
Sort of Addams Family-ish would be the best way of putting it.
I do feel like it may be kind of group specific. We occasionally will run into people at game stores that know and like Gloom also, but it's like we're kind of hesitant to just like throw Gloom out as a card game for just general people, because they might go, nah.
If you're a fan of the new Wednesday, Netflix show, which is an offshoot of the Addams Family, you'd like Gloom.
Yeah, that's true. Probably true. Gloom has story elements too, because the flavor text, you really need to read the flavor text and kind of make up stories to go along with the cards that you play to try to tie them all hilariously together.
Well, some of the sets are families, and so you can read through it. The family, this uncle and this aunt, and
all of these horrible things happen to them, and we start joking about, well, of course, after we play this on that, and we're going like, oh yes, and then that means the aunt, and so I mean, it's a fun game that we can just kind of chat about and make up crazy, hilarious, dark stories about the characters as we play the cards. And the story element is important in Gloom, I feel like, because otherwise you're just laying down cards for points, or actually negative points. You're trying to get the most negative points rather than the most points before you go out and the game ends. So, I mean, it's not going to be much of a game unless you can enter into the spirit of it. So, what else?
No, I think that's it for that.
I do notice you mentioned Uwe Rosenberg, and when I thought, and when you first said that, I thought, not a theme. And then I kind of thought about it, I'm going like, yeah, maybe so. I mean...
No, he hadn't created an actual universe like Ryan Lochte did with Arceum, but still,
he has
there are certain themes that go through most of his games.
Yeah, he has certain mechanics. He has like a whole series of tile laying games, and he has a lot of farming themed games, or basically resource management, and you're basically living in a place and making your living in that place. But it's like, I kind of feel like that as a designer, he's so outstanding that he qualifies as his own theme, is what I was thinking when Robert said that. I thought, not a theme? Yeah, maybe a theme. Okay, favorite mechanisms. Ooh. What I would have said a few years ago would have just been something like, oh, I don't know, tile laying and roll and write. Because I do love tile laying games. There's something incredibly satisfying about tile laying games. If a tile laying game doesn't give you a strong sense of satisfaction, I'm immediately suspicious that there's something wrong with the game. But yeah, there's just something satisfying about tile laying. I would still put tile laying probably at the top of my list in terms of favorite mechanisms. But saying that, I don't rush out and get all the tile laying games, because I look at a lot of tile laying games and I'm going like, and that's kind of like that game, and that's kind of like that game, and I feel like I've just kind of I've got certain tile laying games that I really love, and I'm not sure that I need to have all the things. But that would have probably been it. And roll and write, though we do a little bit less roll and write and flip and write than we used to. We still just dip into it. But I'm going to add something to what I would have said a couple of years ago. I'm going to add worker placement, because I really didn't think I was into worker placement games, but I've been doing these videos for, I don't know, 2 or 3 years now. And at some point when I was doing the videos, I noticed that the words worker placement were coming out of my mouth, just like, and another video, and it's worker placement. It's like I started noticing just how often I said that phrase. And so we actually have a fair number of worker placement games. Now, mind you, not all of them are like heavy Euro worker placement for resources and you're just grinding it out kind of games. Some of them may be on the lighter side, but still, the number of games in which you gotta place your little workers out and get your stuff, that actually is we got a fair number of games there, and I like those games. We don't keep games that we don't like. I mean, and Robert even squirrels away the games that he likes to keep me from calling them. So yeah, I would say tile and worker placement would probably be the top 2. We do love us really good card games, though. We've got a lot of card games. But I'm not sure if card games is a mechanism. It's more of a category. Yeah. Now, trick-taking would be a mechanism within card games, or set collection would be an element within card games. But card games themselves are a category rather than a mechanism. So I'm going to have to go with tile laying and worker placement as my top 2. What about you, hon? What's your favorite mechanism?
My answer is a lot shorter than yours, because there's only one thing comes to mind for me, and that's tile laying. That's pretty much it for me.
But you do like the worker placement games.
Yeah, I like, there are other things, we're talking about what's your favorite. If I have to say favorite, it's tile laying.
What about dice?
I'm very, I'm very poor at dice. Somehow my luck does not do well at dice. There are lots of games with dice I love, but, first of all, we have to get dice trays, because otherwise I'll throw it across the room. That's just... Yeah. And secondly...
Our house is littered with dice trays.
And secondly, generally when I roll dice, 7 out of 10 times, I do not get anywhere near what I needed or wanted. It's just the way of things.
I was noticing the other day.
But it's something I can't say I dislike. It just is.
I was noticing the other day, we do have a fair number of dice games, and we do enjoy the dice games, but Robert's dice rolling is the stuff of legend. It has just kind of become a running joke. If you've got a game where you need to roll low, like whatever it is triggered with those low numbers, then Robert will be rolling 6s and 12s and things like that for the whole game, like one roll after another. If you've got a game where you really need those high numbers, Robert's going to roll 1s and 2s for the entire game. And the whole dice tray thing is, he is also known for wild dice rolls, which is why I'm glad we've got this game topper that has rails. The rails are not, it's not a super deep vault. It's only like 1.5 inches, 1.25 inches, but I think it's going to be enough to keep the dice in here. But he has been known to put dice into the next room with some of his dice rolls. But we like them, but we like dice games, but neither of us are particularly good at them because dice. Let me see. A mechanism you don't like or that you aren't good at. I think we know where Robert's going with this one. I don't like hidden traitor games. That whole betrayal backstabby thing, I don't like. I don't think I would like playing the traitor. I think maybe I'm a little too nice. We tend to mitigate some of the meanness in our games. Though when I play games with other people, I will go full on mean because other people play the game like it's meant to be played with all the take that in there. Whereas Robert and I go like, yeah, let's maybe not do that. Let's go for the kinder, gentler option in this particular turn. But I don't like hidden traitor games. We did play, now hidden character thing, we did play Ultimate Werewolf once, and we enjoyed that. But I don't know, there's some games that are more backstabby. I don't like real-time games. I prefer my games to be a relaxed, stress-free, enjoyable experience. I mean, there's a certain amount of brain stress if the game is difficult, but I don't like the real-time games where you've got a timer and you've got to do it within a certain amount of time and hurry, hurry, hurry. That's just, it's like, it's too stressful. I don't want that kind of tension in games. I play games in order not to have tension. So yeah, traitor games, hidden games, war games, no war games. I'm not crazy about war games. Stressful games, games with mean elements that are just baked right into the design. There's no mitigating them.
Cards Against Humanity.
Mean head-to-head games. Also, I don't like combat in any game. We do have some games that have combat in them, and we may like the game, but I can guarantee you we hate combat in that game. There may be a game that has a combat mechanism that I will like, but I don't think I've encountered that yet. Basically, if it's combat, I'm out. So yeah, we just grind our teeth through combat. I'm fine with skill checks. Like, I love Firefly the game. It has skill checks in it, and I'm fine for skill checks. You can prepare for that a lot better than just, let's have random combat, you'll lose. Not fine with combat. What about you? Any mechanism you don't like or aren't good at?
Well, there's lots of mechanisms I'm not good at, but I still enjoy the games. Like, when we play games, you win 70-80% of the time, but I still enjoy the games, even though I'm, not winning a lot of the time. So, and again, like dice, I'm not necessarily good at dice, but it doesn't mean it's not something I dislike. The thing I dislike would be, as you say, the number one thing I dislike is, as you say, combat or conflict, as in, hit points, defense points kind of stuff. And I'll even go for the explicit example. We love the game Sleeping Gods, the storytelling, the world, stuff like that. But anytime we have to actually get into a conflict, then we have to pull out the formula and stuff like that. We dislike combat in Sleeping Gods. We just dislike combat in general. That's not why. The only game I can think of that has conflicts, hit points, stuff like that we enjoy is the Star Trek spoof, The Captain is Dead. That we enjoyed, but that's because the whole thing is sort of a farce anyway. But
do we have hit points in that?
Yeah.
We do?
Yeah. Remember, if the aliens, take out too much, you start losing parts of the ship, start losing your people.
Oh, well, that's true. It's not hit points on the individual, but essentially things, basically, the more damage you take, then the worse things get all over the ship. So, yeah.
But yeah.
But that's not actually combat. Though I think there are...
The aliens will say it is.
Yeah, I know that's true. And we do have to take out the aliens, but it isn't a combat mechanism. But we do like The Captain is Dead. It is a co-op game, and it is a sci-fi spoof. Let me see. Anything else?
That's it for me.
Okay. Number 10. Newest game or games in your collection, and have you played it or them? The most recent thing we've gotten is a Kickstarter delivery, Garden Canasta, and we have played it. We have, and we liked it. I didn't even know how to play Canasta before this, but so we did enjoy it a lot. And I really like the artwork on it a lot too. Recommend, thumbs up. We also have recently bought 2 big games that we have not gotten to the table, and that would be Sleeping Gods Distant Skies. We're going to try that because we have heard that combat is better in that than in Sleeping Gods. So we're going to give Distant Skies a try eventually. And we also picked up Through Ice and Snow on sale because I like the theme, and we had watched a playthrough of it, and we kind of like it. And winter is so short here, we really like our winter-themed games. It's like when we come across a winter-themed game, we're going like, maybe. But yeah, we kind of, that looked really interesting. So we're going to give that one a try. But we have not played it yet. Is your answer going to be any different than mine? Newest game? Have you played it?
My answer is immaterial because basically you're in charge of buying the games for the most part. So basically, you're the one getting them. Setting up when we play and stuff like that. So, with the rare exception of me picking up a game, pretty much this is, number 10 is all you.
You could research games and buy games.
Why do that? You're so much better at it than I am.
How do you know I am better at it since you don't do it?
That's what the Chihuahua tells me.
Although I should say that I don't always, sometimes I will make a unilateral decision because, we've been together so long and we've played so many games together. I know what Robert likes. But a lot of times there are games where if I'm interested in a game, I will run a video about the game. Not a review video, but a how to play or a playthrough, and ask Robert what he thinks. So it's not as if I do all the research, buy all the games, and he has no input. He does have some input, and there are some times when he has said, I don't think so. And upon reflection, I did not impulse buy some games because I showed him the video and he's going like, no. And later, months later, I'm looking at the game and I'm watching something about it and I'm going like, yeah, he called that right. We would have, like the first flush of excitement, we would have played the game and then it would have been frustrating and we wouldn't have liked it. So he's got really good judgment on games. So I do run stuff past him. I don't run absolutely everything past him because there are some games that I will get because I'm really sure that this is going to be a surefire hit for him. I have occasionally been wrong, but I will occasionally buy games because I know we'll both like them. But a lot of times I will run videos for him. So he does have input into the game buying. So it's not entirely unilateral. Anything else on newest games, and have you played them? Okay, favorite player count. Favorite or usual? Because it asks favorite player count, and I get the impression that what the question means is, what is the player count that you usually play at? And for me, my favorite player count is not going to be the same as our usual player count. our usual player count is 2, me and Robert. Occasionally we play with other people, but it is much easier for Robert and I to just sit down at the table and play a game than to do the herding cats thing, to corral friends or family to get together for a game day and find the day and time that works for everyone. I would like to have regular game days, I really would, but our usual player count is 2. But my favorite player count would be 3 or 4. I would say 3 minimum, because there are some games that we have that require a minimum of 3 players that we can't play with 2. And there are also some games we have that theoretically, according to the box, can be played with a player count of 2, but they're not very good at 2. So I would say my favorite player count would be 3. If we had a solid 3 all the time, then that would really expand the number of games that we could play and have them still be really good games. Because there are some games that we play at 2 that we no longer play at 2. We just kind of wait around to see if we can find somebody else to play with. So you, favorite player count, your usual player count will be 2 like me. Is that your favorite?
I would have to say it's my favorite because, we can do 2 at any time. Some of my favorite games, I think, are best at 2.
Yeah, that's true. There are a lot of good games that are good at 2.
So, I enjoy playing with the family. I enjoy playing on the, once every 6 months efforts where we can get people from work in here to play. But it's just, I like 2, mainly because I like playing with Susan, and also because it's just, we just do it in a snap. Just, hey, whip out carpet song.
Want to play a game? Drop a game onto the table, play.
Sea Salt and Paper, Ticket to Ride.
Yeah.
Cartographers, that's another one we love who hasn't been mentioned yet.
Yes, that's true. In the whole roll and write, flip and write category, we've got a lot of cartographers. I probably should have just gotten the big box, but at the time, like I got cartographers, I had no idea I was going to love it as much as I did and that I was going to get everything. So, yeah. Okay, 12. What is your board game pet peeve? Ooh, I kind of hit upon this in the previous answer. Since we're on the subject of player counts, my board game pet peeve is the box saying that a game is a 2 to something player game when it is fundamentally a 3 to 4 player game. I mean, the number of games that say 2 to 5 and the game is just an absolute nightmare at 5 and a very bad game at 2. I mean, that's a very long list of games. The games that are really 3 to 4 player games that have a player count that go below 3 or above 4. I feel like you're basically trying to have a larger pool that you can market the game to, and that's why they do that. But if people buy the game because it says it can be played at 2, or because their game group has 5 and it says it goes up to 5, and they are really unhappy with the gameplay, then you as a publisher have not gained a thing by having that expanded player count on the box. Because all you've done is just hack off the players. And those are the people that you should be making nice with because you are a board game publisher. And they're going to look at your next game and see that it says it will play 2. And they're going to wonder if you are just messing with them again. So, yeah, that whole box player count, particularly the lower end of the player count, that is very much a pet peeve of mine because our usual player count is 2. If we play a game that says it can be played at 2, that should not mean that you can just technically do the game with 2 players. It should mean that it is still a good game at 2 players. So we run into that a lot with our usual player count being 2, and that is my pet peeve, and it really, really aggravates me. I know why the publishers do it, but it doesn't make me any happier about it. Pet peeve.
Well, I interpreted this question differently than you did. I interpreted it as pet peeve as in playing games as in with people.
Okay.
So
I do know some of the tabletop tag that I've seen interpret it as pet peeve at the table while you're playing games?
So my main thing would be people who play aggressively, less to win than to make sure someone else at the table loses. I do not like that. Generally, we're there to have fun. We're not there to grind someone into the table.
Yeah, that's true.
And we have, on occasion, played with people, like say,
don't name names.
I'm not going to name names. I have no intention of naming names. But like once or twice when we played games at the game store, people, some of the players there were there to, really, win with a capital W.
Yeah, that's true. We don't generally do hate drafting like with cards. Both of us tend to, when we play games, we tend to look at what kind of a move or thing that we do that's going to be best for us. We are terribly self-serving in our games. Now, occasionally, our best choice might hurt another player, but we are not making that choice in order to hurt another player. Although I think there are some games that are on the fun side of ha 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 gotcha. There are some kind of gotcha like.
Well, there's good-natured gotcha, and then there's again someone who really wants to, make sure the other person loses. It's actually their priority. In some cases,
true.
Even more so than winning the game, is just to make sure the other person loses the game.
Yeah, we've been in that situation before, but yeah, we are okay with some sort of lighthearted take that, particularly with silly card games. So yeah, we're okay with that, but just mean-spiritedness at the table, a bad attitude at the table, that is no. That is a good way to get yourself not invited to play again. Let's see. What player color do you use most often? And I might add, I don't know what Robert's going to say for this one. My favorite player color is green. I play green. But Robert's player color has changed a lot, and he tends to just take whatever sometimes. So what is your favorite player color?
I don't have a favorite player color. My answer would be anything but green, because you always take green. If it's not green, it's going to be purple. But basically, I'm always second pick on the color. So it's basically what Susan doesn't pick.
But you've been playing yellow a lot lately. You were playing red a lot for a while, and now you've switched to yellow.
Depending on the game, it fits my personality.
Yellow?
Yes. I know I'm going to die. I'm going to lose. So why not, embrace it.
Okay, question 14, read the rule book or watch a how to play video. For me, video first, then rule book if necessary. The videos, the how to play videos are pretty good in teaching you generally how to play the game. If you can find one, Rodney Smith, watch it play. But there are a few other good channels as well. But a lot of times some of the finer points or the if-then exceptions and the fiddly stuff in the rules will be in the book, but not necessarily covered by every how to play video. Rodney does a very good job of even covering exceptions and stuff like that, but he doesn't do a how to play video for every game we play, so we sometimes have to watch videos from other people. So video first or rule book?
Okay, for me, I go rule book for setup and then video for play, especially if it's a complex game. We usually don't read the entire book, not unless it's a short book or a well-written book. But generally, we, for me, always, go through the setup process in the book. Sometimes if it's a really complex process, we'll put on a video that has a setup portion, and we'll just run it to a point, stop it, then do that on the table, then run the next step, then yada yada. But generally speaking, rule book for setup and then video if we need it for how to actually play the game.
Robert is our rulebook maven to some extent, and I know that this is going to bug a lot of people, but he consults the rulebook a lot during gameplay, particularly first gameplay. The rule book is always over on his side of the table because when we get stuck, he looks it up. Favorite snack to eat while playing board games? We don't usually eat at the table.
My answer is none because for a number of reasons, the main one being you don't want to get food on the table, you don't want to get food on the game. If we're starving, we usually we'll stop the game, go eat somewhere, or eat lunch here, and then continue the game. If we have to eat, if we're for whatever reason we're ravenous and it's affecting our gameplay, I would say Ritz crackers. But generally we do not like to eat at the table. We do not like to eat while playing.
We usually just have mugs of hot tea.
We have caffeine flowing all the time.
Oh yes, the caffeine must flow. If I have a snack at the table, it would be something like popcorn without any weird seasonings that can get on your fingers or the game, or crunchy pretzels, because again, like the salt on the pretzel sticks on the pretzel, so there's nothing that's going to be getting on the table or on the game, but that's very rare. When we have people over, I will usually make popcorn or put out a bowl of pretzels, so that way if they want to grab a handful of snacks during the game, they can, and it won't be anything that will get stuck on the game. 16, have you ever been to a board game convention? If so, which one? We went to our first convention in February of this year, and it was Peloton down in Galveston. And it was the first year for that convention too, and they will be doing it again next year, though they have moved it a little bit later in the calendar and have also moved it onto the mainland.
Obviously the same answer.
Yeah. Did you enjoy Peloton?
Yes. I'm happy they're moving off Galveston, but I'll bet the reason why was because that one day where the only way on the island, there was construction, which meant it took hours to get off the island, and that upset an awful lot of people.
Yeah, it really did. It took us hours to get home.
So I think that's why they moved it off the island, for that reason alone.
Yeah, okay. 17, an unreleased game you are most looking forward to. Above and Below Haunted. We've got Above and Below on the table here, and Above and Below Haunted will be shipping soon. As I understand it, it is in the country at the fulfillment center. Tariffs have been paid, and it should be shipping soon. And I've been looking forward to that ever since they announced that there was going to be an Above and Below Haunted. So, you?
Obviously Above and Below Haunted.
Because we both like Above and Below. When I told him there was going to be a haunted version of Above and Below, he says, oh yes, we're in for that. So yes, what's your favorite thing about the board game hobby?
Time with Susan.
Aw, I love you.
You too.
It's fun. It's just so much fun.
It is stimulating.
I love playing games with Robert, and modern board games are just so amazing. If the board games were just the same games or the same kind of games that I played growing up, yeah, I would not be playing board games now. I would not be in the board game hobby. They just wouldn't be as interesting or as fun for me as an adult. But we refer to the Kallax shelf with our board games in the living room as the wall o' fun. So yeah, we're in it for the fun. If it's not fun, we're out. And that is our criteria for a game. It's like, is the game hard? Doesn't matter. Is it fun? Is the game, it's just like, that is our criteria for the game. It's like, are we very good at it? No, we are very bad at some games, but we have a lot of fun playing them. And I feel like that is a good test of a game design. It's like, if you're really awful at playing a game, but you enjoy the process of playing that game anyway, then that game designer has done a bang-up job. But yes, we are having a lot of fun. Okay, 19.
19, I will answer first. For me, I'm going to quote Perry Mason. The question is irrelevant, immaterial, improper. I don't have a say-so in the matter. As soon as a game gets in here, Susan rips it open like it's Christmas Day, and she loves to punch. She'll sit there for hours punching. I'm not in the loop for that process. I don't have the say-so in the process. I'm not in the process. So Susan punches as soon as she can.
I used to wait. I used to wait and have things on and just have a shelf of shame with boxes and shrink. But the first time I cracked open a game that I was really looking forward to playing and discovered something horribly wrong with it so that the game could not actually be played. Yeah, that was, I mean, it was in that case a totally botched print run of an entire deck of cards where the printing was just off, and so it was just utterly unusable. And I did get the deck replaced very quickly. The publisher was very, very good. But I've had games turn up with missing cards. I've had games I've opened up that have missing components. Ever since that first time where I opened a game all excited, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to play it, and I discovered that there was something horribly wrong with the game, which meant I could not play the game when I wanted to play it. Ever since then, I started doing as soon as I get the game, I crack open the shrink, I open it up, I punch everything punchable. If there's something that needs to be put together, I put it together. I bag the stuff. I inventory every single piece. If you're a game designer, you need to have a list of components, an accurate list of components, because I have found some that just don't list everything. It's like I found pieces in a box and I'm going like, okay, what's this? It's not on the component list. So yeah, I feel like every single game needs to have an accurate list of every single component in the front of the rule book. And I open the game up, I punch it, I inventory all the components to make sure it's all there. I bag everything in the way that seems to make the most sense for game setup. I pack it away and it is then ready to play. And I feel like actually that this helps the games get onto the table faster because for one thing, there's none of that disappointment if you discover that there's something wrong, but it seems like you open the box up and you run your fingers through all the pieces and you sort of wallow in all of the beautiful stuff and the amazing cards. And that just kind of ramps up that anticipation and want to play thing. So I feel like it actually acts as a little bit more of an impetus to get the game to the table right away. Then, it's like you buy a game and you're going like, oh, I'm happy I bought this game, and you put it on the shelf and then you don't look at it for a while. So yeah, I feel like that it just gets you right into the flow there for playing a game. And also there's sometimes things that you will need to do, like putting together some little thing or tuck boxes or something like that you'll need to do prior to actually playing the game. So it's a good idea to do that before the day that you do the game. 20. Others you would like to see do this tag. Do you have any?
The only name I can come up with is Vladimir Putin. And part of the reason I say that is because almost anyone I know who I would name won't do the challenge. So as a result, Putin's as good a name as any. There's no one I can think, there's none of my friends or anything that would say, hey, do this, who would do it. So.
Okay, I think a lot of people have already done this tag, though some of them's answers may have changed, like I think mine may have changed in the past few years. But I still want to tag a couple of people, even if they may have done it a few years ago. I'd like to tag Amber over at A Meeple Family. And I think, though I don't know that they would do it, it's not really their thing, but I will tag Rodney Smith over at Watch It Played and Chaz Marler over at his new YouTube channel, Game Night Picks. And Chaz, if you do this, I want Stuart to appear on camera. Stuart should contribute to this. Stuart is an adorable little dog. Anyhow, so Amber, Rodney, Chaz, you're on the hook now. A lot of people I know have already done this and have even done it recently. So that's why some of my usual suspects aren't being mentioned. And I would like to thank, Spielmill for tagging, not just tagging me in it, but specifically saying they wanted Robert's answers. So we've got Robert on video, at least for the voice part. Looked like you were doing shadow puppets there for a while. Anyhow, it's been fun. I'm sorry it's so long, but I will see y'all next time round the table. Bye.